Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. We're here with a preview podcast with that's not just one, but two clashes between New Zealand and South Africa on Saturday. First of all, it's New Zealand versus South Africa in Wellington between the men for the Rugby Championship and the fourth round of the Rugby Championship. And then later that day, the quarterfinal in England, it's the Black Ferns versus the Springbok Women. So a bumper Saturday to look forward to with the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals and the Rugby Championship and lots of other rugby today to look forward to. I have Shaun with me, and we're going to go through the two teams or the four teams that have been selected and discuss a few interesting calls both by Rassie Erasmus and Swys de Bruin. Shaun, let's start with the Springboks and their second game against the All Blacks. So you weren't on the podcast on Monday. Maybe just to sort of start you off with, your sort of like whatever 2-minute, 30-second take on what happened on Saturday.
So I did watch the game this Saturday. I seem to be missing pods when we take L's, but yeah, it was very interesting. So I noticed in the first half we were just not really competitive at the breakdown, and we were just getting panelled. And I was kind of looking at that going, cool. So we expected that maybe with the reshuffle of losing Jean-Luc and not having a real big carrier, a sort of flanker or eighth man on the bench, I thought maybe we were trying to like preserve ourselves and then hit them, like hopefully tire out the All Blacks and then hit them hard afterwards. That didn't happen. So I was a bit like concerned about the breakdown. I thought we could have been more aggressive there, or we could have been maybe boxed a bit smarter. That's a space where I feel we could have done better individually and as a team. It's kind of almost like an effort space. Then the other things, the just not finishing opportunities, not silly errors, knock-ons, forward passes, being in front of obstruction, stuff like that when we were on attack, I thought was really just shitty. Again, it was just very weird. Is that a result of so many changes in the team? Like we overrunning people or what? We seem to snatch quite a bit, which is really not something the Springboks do anymore. Like we generally tend to understand what we're doing and we can push through and we're patient. Like if we're expecting to score after 4 phases, we've got the headspace to score after 6 if need be. We don't snatch too much. So that was a little bit frustrating. And then the thing is I'm quite interested to see how we're going to start working around different personnel in different spaces. Like the Byrhandré Pollard, we're seeing, listen, all of our players have pros and cons. And what I feel that Rassie and Jacques Nienaber have done in the past is put players in a game plan that is more suited to their cons to almost try and build them up and grow them up. So we kind of got to figure out what we're doing in that space where, yeah. So and that'll come with time, but it sucks that it's all happening together. But the ruck space and the forwards sort of lack of domination and the overrunning and stupid knock-on errors are something that is it's not a personnel change thing. It's not a game plan thing. It's just an accuracy. It's a little space that we generally handle better and we're a little bit more calm in, and we weren't.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's probably where we were as well on Monday is, there's just a lot of errors and mistakes and snatching. I think that's the right term from experienced players that you don't expect. So I think, having the likes of Waaka and Peter Steph being near the top of your penalty conceders, that's not usually what we do. Obviously, some of the obstruction and the breakdowns in attack and in defense as well, the line out and everything. Like it's just those mistakes compounding each other. And then for 60 minutes, we just put ourselves pretty much out of that game. And yeah, if New Zealand also were better themselves and they played well, but if they were like a more sort of like better clicked on team, it could have been a bit more uglier. But yeah, I think both teams are like there was more on the table and we kind of left it there. So it makes this Saturday quite interesting.
Yeah, I, I wanted to chat about the All Blacks. I thought their execution, listen, their strike plays have always been top class. And they just happened to score off both of their first two strike plays.
Yeah.
That first one I thought was incredible. From jumping in the number two to setting up a fake maul and attacking narrow, having their whole back line like in the 15-meter, it felt like, to isolate. Basically, what they wanted is they wanted Narawa to hit Vili with a one-on-one.
Yeah.
I thought Vili, I really do think that he approached that well. That Narawa having to dive for the ball, eats up 2 meters, and then going at his feet and slipping, like it really impacts stuff. I think if Vili was further away, Narawa burns him. Like I thought defensively, Vili was in a good space. Maybe he overtracked slightly and therefore slipped. I don't know. That second one, that line-out move, Marco van Staden, Malcolm Marx, and Peter Steph du Toit all at fault on defense there. It's massive. Like I don't think they expected Will Jordan to score off that. I think they expected a line break and then would have planned after that.
Yes.
But you're not. So I thought once those two things happened, they were in a different mindset. We were kind of shaking a little bit. We were in the game with at least 20 minutes to go still, but all they needed was a platform. Like the All Blacks, any side in the top five, like if they get a 10, 15 point lead, they've got enough that they can almost hold on.
Yeah.
If this was the Springboks of last year, we would have won that, taking that deficit, we would have still got on to win it. A few changes have happened. I thought the All Blacks were really good. A couple players, but there weren't players that were. I'm trying to think if there was like a 9 out of 10 player. I don't think there was.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like they acted pretty well as a group. Couple of injuries really helped us. I thought, sorry, potentially would have helped us. They didn't, which was very interesting. But yeah, the All Blacks did well, and it's the Eden Park. Like it was their World Cup final. We're their World Cup final opposition. Like we are the team to beat, and playing at Eden Park. All of that came together, and they were fighting way outside their weight category.
Yeah. So this brings us to the team announced for Saturday. So on Monday, early on Monday for us, Rassie Erasmus comes out with his team, and pretty much, yeah, it's a lot more changes than I think anyone expected. And I think the big thing is a lot of the veterans have been, there's maybe a debate whether they're being rested or rotated or dropped or whatever the case is. But obviously, it's the likes of Ebenezer Byrhandré Pollard, Damien Willemse, Jesse Krem that are not even in the match 23. So the forwards, I would say, are relatively close to full strength. I mean, in the forward, let's start there short. In the forwards, I think the most controversial thing is that Lood de Jager and Ronald Keir starting together, and then Agnes Neyman comes off the bench. So we don't necessarily have that like big enforcer lock. I mean, Lood, I guess, can kind of do that. And I think it's also an appeal to just for anything to help our lineup right now. It's just Lood, Rowan, sit with Malcolm Marx. You guys just figure out this line out because obviously it's been a growing problem in the last few weeks.
But we saw last year when Nokia forced his way into the side last year because of his line-out running.
Yeah.
Then De Jager has always been that guy. We've had them. Both of them played last week.
Yeah.
So, like, what's going on? Like, did us losing Jean-Luc Dupré really affect us badly in that side last week? I don't know, but my gut says not that much. Like if it mattered, it wouldn't have mattered that much. Now having both of them start is super interesting. It looks unbalanced because we're missing that Eben vibe. I agree that he needs a rest. I do. I really do. But I think we need to, like, is Jean-Luc still injured? Because he could do a job there. We could have someone a big, like, I don't know if De Jager and Nokia together is going to fix our lineouts. You know what I mean? And if it does, then what's happening? Because Eben's not terrible at lineout time.
No.
So we're kind of replacing it with the same style jumper, but we don't have a number two defensive jumper like Eben. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens and how they balance that out. The big question that needs to be done, like for a couple of weeks when I was away and we lost to Australia, a lot of guys I've seen the last few weeks, everyone's having a big go at Bongi and Banambi, but like he hasn't been playing and Malcolm Marx has been playing. Like, do we have those conversations? Because I couldn't understand, and the guys were all talking about like he must go and Marx must stay, but Marx is not hitting his jumper. Like Marx has been the common denominator throughout all of these changes.
Yeah.
So, and this to bear in mind that Malcolm Marx started off as a pretty shaky
Right.
line-out thrower,
Mm-hmm.
and he got very good. Still not better than Umbanambi as a season sort of stats stuff normally that from what I remember. But we've got to fix, and this is the kind of stuff, we talk about like the old guys and everything, and everyone's like still putting up their hand, but this is the kind of stuff that's a massive worry when you got someone like Mark's going, he's a bit of a liability at lineout, but he operates very well all around it. So are we willing to justify
Yeah.
playing him because of that?
And I mean, yeah, I think the problem is we don't really have anyone behind Marks and Bonambi, which we haven't had for close to 8 years now. So it's obviously last week it was Basils that was the reserve hooker, and he barely plays hooker for the Bulls. Now it's Marnus van der Merwe, who has gotten a few chances, but I mean, I don't think he has obtained that trust from the coaches yet to be thrown into an Eden Park or a Wellington test from like minute one. So yeah, I think Marks is almost lucky by circumstance because yeah, there is a bit of heat on Marks now. I think him and when I'm like it's almost equaled out, if you want to call it that. I think people are realizing obviously there's a fundamental issue with the line out number one, but I think there's also been some really short throws from Marks or big overthrows or just
Yes.
bad timing. So I don't know, like obviously we're not in the team. We're not really sure what's going on. I know Victor Madfield has had a lot to say about lineouts. Obviously,
Yeah.
the biggest expert in lineouts in the world. And he's been talking about, maybe you shouldn't do too many four-man lineouts. I mean, I think other people have been saying like we're taking too long to set up, and that's also allowing the opposition to, creep in and close the gap like what the All Blacks are doing. So I think there's a few. It's like a fundamental thing, and I mean, even on earlier week's podcast, Coach and I were talking about like this is kind of what happened with Ireland. Like one day they had a great line out, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a few problems. They should sort themselves out, and then it's 2, 3 years later, and they still have the same problems. So I think it's just something we need to get on top of. So be it Marks, be it Nokia, be it Luat, whatever the combinations are, we need to find whatever works. And because I think the big difference between the two teams on Saturday was New Zealand could use Alliance as an attacking platform, which got them pretty much all three of their tries, and we couldn't. Like, and there were so many opportunities where we had a good attacking line in the 22, and nothing happened from it.
So, so Don Human, like, what has happened and changed there? Because we
He's not
our
is he the line-out guy? I don't think so.
he's our forwards coach, so maybe he's
Yeah,
not our line out, but
not John Davis, maybe.
we're not dumb. So who whoever was that guy for scrum, line out, and mauls from 2023 until now is still that same guy, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, so what is going on here? Because this is not a Tony Brown change.
no.
Tony Brown doesn't change you know what I mean? Tony Brown can do whatever he wants because Tony Brown's getting a lot of heat. Tony Brown can do whatever he wants. That doesn't change our scrum, our maul, or our line out. What has changed?
Yeah, I think Victor was saying that we're doing more four-man lineouts because we want the Lucy's in the back line for like first phase moves, and that's weakening our lineout. So it is kind of a Tony Ball thing as well.
Okay.
But that's not I don't I get that, but I also see our full lineouts have had big problems as well, and people almost literally bumping into each other. So I don't think that explains everything. But you are right, like nothing in theory has changed between 2 years ago and now. But
Yeah.
as I understand it, Dion Davis sort of does all the other forward stuff. Human is pretty much just scrums. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's one of like I think there's been now more questions about this coaching ticket, and it's kind of like people don't necessarily have like set roles, and there's a lot of overlap, and obviously there's all the old peeps and the new peeps, and I was just like, I wonder what's going on here. So obviously we can't know anything. We're on the outside, but what we can see is the product on Saturday, and there's obviously big fundamental issues there at the line option.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, like the last few months with the performances and the losses, etc., is seeing how people are like, but I told you this was going to be a problem. It's like, my man, you've gone through us dominating to kind of say this, or everyone's like, I knew this would never work, or this hassle was always there. But whatever has happened, it wasn't like we won once or twice with it. Like we went on a pretty good streak. We
Yeah.
dominated everybody in some way, shape, or form somewhere along the line. We look good, so it's very interesting. Like that's the thing is it's such a weird thing, and I think the reason why people are saying it and why it's so weird is because no one can really say this
This
is the
is the
problem.
problem. Yeah.
Like everyone, humans inherently just want to blame someone. Like people want a face to blame all the time. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Like people want a face to blame. So Tony Brown is that guy. Mbonambi, because he's the new guy in the mix. So everyone's like, it's got to be you. Mbonambi's another one. Like Marnie's another. I suppose that's maybe not fair because I think some of his areas have really hurt us. But you know what I mean? Like, and some guys can't let go of things. So it's weird when we don't really know what's going on. We're looking at a whole bunch of weird stuff to blame, and it's a bit challenging.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I think let's talk about the backline, I think, in that context, because it's a pretty new backline in a lot of ways. So it's Rassie, number one, I think, is investing a lot in youth. So there's only two 30-year-olds in the backline, as opposed to there being only two 20-year-olds in last week's backline, which is Kobus Reinach and Ches and Colby. They stay as the seniors, and then it gets very young after that. So 10, 12, 13 is an exciting combination with Sasha Feinberg, Zulu, Damien Willemse, and Kanan Moody playing together. But it's also, I think, a combination that has a lot of questions, and I'm sure you would also have your uncertainties. You have Hooker at 11. I mean, I don't think you can fully blame him for that try. I think also New Zealand just attacked well with Mpupha, but like it just shows obviously him playing wing at the URC and him playing wing at international level. There's obviously a big adjustment there, and Apelele Fasi's come back into play at 15 now. So, Sean, I think it could be a very attacking um, backline. I think it could be a really like just this might be maybe this is Rassie kind of signaling this is maybe the future and this is the way that they want to do and want to play. It kind of affirms sort of the Tony Ball approach, if you want to call it that. But yeah, how do you see it?
The 10, 12, 13. I'll start there. That has the potential to really dominate on defense. Like they are big kids and they've got big shoulders and they like to get stuck in. Like let's
Yeah,
be honest. They have no problem with doing it. It really boils down to your positioning and the management of the players inside and outside. And everybody knows it's time in the saddle that gives you that. So when you have someone like a Moody coming in at 13, but then you don't have Delendi at 12, like it does affect things. You don't have Pollard inside there or like a more seasoned 10. So that whole thing does change. It really looks good. My issue is this setup on attack. So Sasha's got big dick syndrome. Like he really wants to like do everything himself. So
yeah,
Sasha operates exceptionally well when he runs the whole show. He often goes into space. You can see him when he goes into a game and he's like, I'm going to do this on my own. Like I'm going to do that side step. So it's almost a bit much in test level sometimes. I'm hoping that'll get balanced out. Damien Willemse was literally that a few years ago as well. Having the two of them together it looks a little risky to me,
yeah,
but it excuse me, it all boils down to if you let Sasha take control, then Willemse has to then just operate. You can't have Willemse be like, cool, we've got to do this. Yeah, I don't think that'll work too much. Then the balance at 13, like Moody loves a big hit. We've got a little bit of issues with some reads, but defensively on the weekend, I thought he was excellent. He made one or two little errors, but as a whole, he got no ball to do anything defensively, put a couple of big hits in. I think that's the kind of thing. It's a confidence-based thing. Your shoots are very similar at 13 to what they are on the wing anyway. So there's that. I'm very interested to see how they manage that when it's him and Hooker, because we need Hooker to also be operating well there. So when we're on the left-hand side defending, when we've got two of those inexperienced guys on the wing and outside center, that's going to be interesting to watch, and how Willemse manages that, because I think Willemse takes control of the midfield defense from 12. That's kind of how I see it. So yeah, that'll be quite interesting. On attack, I'm a bit concerned about us losing that guy that does the boring stuff. That guy that runs that unders line, that sets up a platform. So Delendi and Creel both actually do that. So we alternate between the two. Lukhanyo often did similar stuff because he's a really big guy, but you might have seen an offload or something between there. They would never set up a platform. So I would like to know how that's going to work, because we're not... Willemse, he generally does get to the same place that Delendi gets to, except he doesn't do it with three guys on his back. He generally does it by breaking three guys' ankles as he's stepping around. So that's kind of okay. So we're going to get... I think we'll have the similar outcome, but just with different way of getting there, you know. But I would like to know, I think Moody's a great shot for a crash ball. I think he could run that Creel option because he's really big. And the only thing I want from Moody is I just want him to pass when the numbers game is on. That's all I want. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, like you said, potentially exciting, but you can see like the clashes. I think I wouldn't have minded if Leroux was there just to be the senior, just to shout at both Willemse and Sasha if they sort of go sort of too off the cuff and just be like, guys, calm down. But in some ways, Fassi being there, he doesn't do the playmaking from 10 as much. He is happy. You give him the ball out wide. You give him the 3-on-2 or 2-on-1. He can make the right decision there. So he won't also add himself and become a problem. Like obviously we've seen this with the Stormers, where they have Sasha and Willemse and Galant playing together, that they almost are bumping into each other, trying to sort of do the hero board. But yeah, I think Fassi kind of helps to calm that down. I mean, yeah, I've always been a big fan of Willemse at 12. I think it's something that really can help unlock things for the Springboks. It's just obviously just difficult now because he's only been playing like consistently for about 3 or 4 months since his long-term injury. He doesn't have the form that we expect of him. So yeah, I mean, it is a difficult thing, and it's not like he's the young one in the combination. He's pretty much the senior inside back, like you've just said. Like he'll probably have to help lead the defense. He'll probably have to help Sasha with making reads and everything, and helping the kicking game, because I think apparently it's going to be raining in Wellington as well. So it's so interesting just seeing now Willemse grow up to that role, and now he's got like you've just said, almost like him 4 years ago inside of him, and he has to sort of be that voice of reason for Sasha as well. So I think individually this could work. I mean, I'm not as comfortable with Moody at 13, but I can see the theory. And look, this is almost like a not sink or swim, but like we also have to find an option outside of Jesse Creel. So be it Moody or Hooker. I mean, I know people mentioning Henko van Wyk this week. It's just like, well, if he could stay fit, that would help. So someone needs to step into that and really sort of take ownership of, I can lead the defense, I can help in attack, I can be that sort of all-round 13. So it'll be interesting to see, like you said, Moody and Hooker working together, because Hooker's probably more of a center than wing, and Moody's probably more of a wing than a center, and they're going to be working together. But yeah, Colby's still there. Reinach was fantastic, I think, off the bench, probably one of his best test performances I think, in his career. So yeah, I think he deserves the start. So it'll be interesting. And there isn't really that bailout of Pollard coming off the bench. It's, I mean, we'll talk about the bench just now, but it's Lebok and Esterhuizen, which, I mean, yeah, that's another conversation, but it's not experienced players coming to save the day here.
Yeah. What's interesting about Feinberg and Ngomazulu, Willemse, and Moody is we have three really big and viable carry options,
Yeah.
which is great. If Sasha wants to have a carry, then Damien needs to shift into 10. So I think the balance there is quite good. If what we'll also see is probably playing like a fussy Colby or Moody on a sort of crash ball, and then Willemse will shift to one side of the ruck, and then Feinberg and Ngomazulu to the other, and then we have two tens on attack. Like, so we've got options there. What I'm very interested in, and you touched on it, and we'll definitely chat on it, but we've really committed to doing these things. Like, there's no bailouts anywhere, really. We've got so many options for shuffling, but we have a chance of having Hooker at 13, which is something I'd really like to see. And I agree totally with what you say. Like, Hooker's more of a 13 playing on the wing, and Moody's more of a sort of wing playing at 13. Moody, since coming back, I think we need to be, I need to be fair. I know I've been a little bit hard on him, but since coming back from injury is where my focus has been. That's where the struggle city's been mostly. It's been a little bit erratic. Prior to that injury, there was not a shadow of a doubt that we were all very happy for him to shift into that 13 and grow into taking that. But the post injury has hurt a little bit and forced us to ask a few questions. But yeah, it's going to be fun. We've got the balance of what we're doing and how we're going to do it is the big question. And the problem is we won't get any answers if everyone executes like they did last week. That's the frustrating thing. Like, if we can execute better, we will get answers. And then you can be like, cool, I see what they were doing there. We got this and this wrong, or maybe this doesn't work with this guy here. This game plan would work really well with player X. So let's just execute better and then we can settle.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just then quickly on the bench, we've got Marnus van der Merwe, who's come in as the reserve hooker. Wessel's now moved to be a reserve loose prop, partnering Volko Low. Okay, Snyman's back on the bench. There's our lock, and then with Kwagga Smith, obviously, and then Grant Williams, Manie Lebok, and Andre Esterhuizen. So, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the All Blacks bench in a moment as well. It's not, both benches aren't really experienced. I thought the Bok bench was inexperienced, then the All Blacks picked a more inexperienced bench. So now I think there is maybe a bit more of an advantage for the Boks there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm so glad to see Mani back. Like, the one thing that we are seeing is we're seeing Byrhandré play two styles. One is a Byrhandré Pollard style, and another one that is really not a Byrhandré Pollard style. Then we've got Mani, who we've seen kick more, but has got the most unbelievable distribution. So, and then we've got Sasha and Damien Willemse, who could cover both of those roles. So, like, I'm surprised that Mani's starting because we have Willemse and Sasha playing. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm surprised that Mani's on the bench. We have two 10 options there, and with Esterhuizen, like, we could easily have not had Mani there. So that's quite interesting. I think I'd like to know what they're going to do. Are they going to move Sasha to 15 or Willemse to 15? Probably Willemse if he's fit enough and his numbers are good, because we probably want to give him some more time there and thereabouts. But Mani and Esterhuizen together is probably going to be the 10-12 if we get to make those decisions without being forced into injury changes. And then that'll be interesting to see how they manage it. But that bench looks, I don't think it's that inexperienced. I quite like it. It's the front row that's a little bit of
Yeah, like,
touch and go.
mm,
But then you've got Volko, who you could pair with any other two front rankers, and we'd still get a freaking tight head. So it's
that's
okay.
good. That
Can
is
we talk
good.
about can we talk about Thomas du Toit, who's now just become my tight head prop? Can we just talk about that? Like,
Yeah, but I mean,
all of a sudden, eh?
are you, I don't know, I don't know if I'm satisfied with Du Toit. Like, there's just still, I mean, I think we talked about this on Monday as well. There's still
Oh,
something that is just not quite fully there. Or maybe it's just, the measuring stick is France Malherbe, and that's a very big measuring stick.
yeah.
It's just not, I mean, I think we also need to maybe just make peace that maybe like Volko is like the last of the Warriors in terms of just being able to sort of turn a scrum by himself. But he's just like with Du Toit, I mean, obviously we know how good he is around the field and like just maybe sort of missing an impact. But like now, I mean, obviously he's taken full advantage of this year that we've said, okay, there's no Malherbe. I think Vincent Koch is, I'm not even sure what to say about his status right now. If he's still a part of the plans, obviously he's now sort of fallen to third choice at the very least. So these two have, I mean, I don't think they haven't done anything wrong, I think, from
Mm.
tight heads. You could ask for more, but they haven't done anything wrong. So that's why they're the incumbents at the moment.
Yeah, I think Cock is still in the mix purely because Thomas du Toit, the minutes that he's going to get this season and the minutes he got last season are huge. I do think that
Yeah,
that's a
especially at the
factor.
spring.
Yeah, yeah. Thomas du Toit's been interesting. I think one of the other things is we also need to just be aware that Thomas du Toit is not playing with the Ox and the Malcolm of 2024 or 2023.
Yeah,
That's the frustrating thing. Like I know, I mean, and then Volkolo will do it all on his own. So then you're kind of like, well, that's kind of a redundant argument. But I would like to see um, and also because he's moved around a little bit, especially in the Springbok setup, maybe a couple more games. I have no problem with him starting for the rest of the Rugby Championship, to be honest. And then Wilco can come in, or we can alternate the two. But where we are missing out on is what we're so used to seeing is having our front row play 40 minutes and then the next front row come on.
yeah,
That has changed things slightly, which has been quite an interesting thing for us all to get used to. I'm sure them too.
yeah. I'm sure Ox prefers only playing 30 minutes instead of playing 60, 70 minutes. But
Let's play 30 at prop and then another 30 or 40 minutes at 10. It's fine by me.
yeah, but all of them must last Babalo Lacha who plays like 70, 80 minutes every week, to
Yes.
be fair.
Love it.
Um, on the All Black side, yeah, also quite a few interesting changes. So they've lost Cody Taylor and then Moni Narawa to injury. So they've come out. Samsoni Takiaho's come in at hooker, and you have a debut for Leroy Carter. Um, but I think the sort of the talking point that we can start with is Rieko Ioane has been dropped completely from the 23. Shaun, yeah, I know you have no Rieko Ioane takes. So if you have any, I don't have any thoughts.
Listen, I'll be honest. Like, he hasn't been great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even moving him to wing has really, I don't think it kind of yielded what they thought it would. Like,
Yeah,
he kind of is out of position sometimes, or maybe not as impactful. Probably wanted him there to cover the 13. I honestly, I saw them moving him to 13 and dropping Proctor before they dropped him totally like they've done
yeah,
now. So that's something that I'm quite surprised about. The guy's got experience and he's not crap. Like
yeah,
he's not, listen, they've played him so much at 13, like he's operating at a decent-ish test level space. But we knew that once they moved him out of 13 back to wing, he would really have to fight hard for his role because there is quality all round. The fact that they've dropped him under this sort of injury crisis is quite something. I wonder if it's perhaps some form of an agreement because he's got to head off to Leinster soon. I doubt it. But maybe there's something there. But yeah, listen, on face value, you can understand why he's been dropped, but it's really weird seeing an All Black side without him in it.
yeah. I mean, especially against the Springboks, he usually performs quite well against us. So yeah, All Blacks forwards more or less consistent. Takiaho starts. Terrell Lomax switches with Fletcher Newell. So you have De Groot and Lomax at the start, and then Newell, Tamati Williams off the bench. The backline also has Noah Hotham starts there, so he's usually the third choice nine, the nine from Crusaders. He's a very highly rated young nine. He's sort of the start of the Nines coming back from injury in the next few weeks. I think Roy God and Ratama are probably going to come back for the Bledisloe World Cup. Yeah, obviously they had a big crisis there. They had to play Preston off on debut, and Finn Christie had to sort of do a stopgap role there. So, I mean, he's still not he's pretty inexperienced. I think he only has two caps, both of them. And I think both of them are off the bench. So it's still like a issue and a potential place for the Springboks to target. Now, there's no Eben Etzebeth, who's usually a Nines nightmare. So now between Nortje and Jorja and Peter Steff, they have to take that role now.
Yeah. Again, it's such an interesting move considering the issues they have and considering how well Christie played in the first test. Like it's quite a big move. To me, this is very much like I don't want to say it's the All Blacks are like Scott Robertson's like job done because all we needed to do was defend Eden Park and then we get to manage else other players and give other guys chances. That's not the
Yeah.
All Black way, like if we're honest. So it's very interesting and it just poses questions. Like you kind of like, what is your plan?
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think it's also a case of you start a guy that's just come back from injury because if he gets injured, you can replace him, as opposed to bringing him on with 20 minutes to go and then he freaking does a hamstring and then you're up shit creek with no paddle. So it's probably not the worst shot. It's just done the other way around. And then I'll be honest, Leroy Carter, I don't really know anything about him, man. So good
He's
luck.
very fast. He plays sevens. I kind of
Really?
think opposition teams are kind of seeing the Boks as a team you could pace. So I know, remember
Yes.
with the Lions, there was
Yes.
always a conversation like the Lions wingers are slow, so you must pick all the fast people. I think teams I've seen like the success that like Corey Tor had, and they're just like, and even Narawa, I guess, for that try, and just like, okay, well, get a fast guy. If you can get them one on one, because there'll always be a one on one opportunity with pretty much either the fullback or the opposite wing, you have a good chance. So I think that's what they want to do. It's funny though, because Carter,
Especially with all the new backs in the Springbok setup.
yes, yeah. So there obviously might be some miscommunications there. So Leroy Carter is not your typical debut All Black winger. Like he's not 21, he doesn't weigh 100 kilograms and runs the 100 in like 2 seconds. Like he's 26, he's been doing sevens for a long time. He had a really good season now with the Chiefs in Super Rugby. Um, so obviously if he's 26, that means he's retiring next year. So it's interesting because I mean there has been a bit of like talk at least from the podcast I listened to from New Zealand talking about like him starting and him getting a chance. So we'll have to see. Yeah, from what I have also not seen too much of him. I don't know if he's necessarily like gonna hit the lights out at test level, but I kind of see it as like he's almost a box specific player instead of playing Caleb Clark in terms of let's just get someone fast so that we do have a good chance one on one. I mean, I think they would have preferred to have played Willie Leroux at fullback instead of Fussy. Obviously, Fussy is pretty much as fast as most wings. So we'll see now how they sort of use them and try to put them into space because I think that's going to be the name of the game there.
Yeah, and they're 100% going to have a move that will be dedicated to putting him in space or
Yeah.
putting him in a environment that he potentially could score. So that's quite important.
Yeah. Then the bench, I think the big change is Brody McAllister's coming off the bench. I think Asafa Moa's fit, so that's a bit of an interesting call, actually seeing him play. So it's McAllister, Williams, and Newell as the front row bench, which is something I think the Bok bench should be looking at and licking their lips on because it's pretty inexperienced. Like I think there's something that, especially for Koloka target. You have Holland and Karifi as the two other forward reserves. Obviously, both of them have pretty much kind of established themselves in the 23 in the last few weeks. Christie moving to the bench, and then Tupai has obviously been like a pretty nice super sub for them the last few weeks. And then Ruben Love comes in at 23. So I think that's also interesting with the Ruben Love thing. So I didn't mention it, but David McKenzie's playing 15, so they do have the Boda McKenzie thing at 10 and 15 now. And Ruben Love is clearly he's going to replace one of them when he comes on. So I think they've realized that maybe, as I've been saying for many years, Will Jordan's probably or not that Will Jordan's at his best at wing, but I think it helps the New Zealand team more when he's on the wing, and you then have either DMAC or Love or whoever as a fullback. Just that it helps you with the high ball, it helps you with the kicking game, it helps you with your attack, you have another playmaker, and then your 11 can be whatever crazy finisher that you have at the moment. So I think they are kind of starting to lean more into that balance and realize that, okay, there's something from, even though maybe they didn't play like a 10 out of 10 performance, there's things that they did on Saturday that they need to carry on. Like be good at kicking, like make it more of a contest on the ground, like rely on your good set piece that you have right now, rely on your forwards instead of trying to sort of play touchline to touchline ball when you don't really have the team anymore for that.
Yeah, I thought Mackenzie was pretty good when he came on. He had to come
Yeah.
on early, and I wouldn't be surprised if Love was earmarked to start at 15 this week. And then because of Mackenzie's form, the other thing, the All Blacks are absolutely going to be expecting a backlash at ruck time.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be big and brutal, and they are going to evolve by just being a little bit more loose, maybe backing off a little bit and trying to sort of create gaps elsewhere. So we're going to see a bit of a 1-2 punch, probably from both sides, because I don't think that we will be well, I want to say I don't think we'll be stuck in one sort of game plan when that's literally how we played in the first test. But I think we'll definitely be more competitive. There will be some big hits. Jasper Wiss is back, and as Cook said, like the only guy who's ever had his stocks rise after being red carded. And we'll also get to see the loose trio operate how we what they're expected in the first test, and I think that's what's really cool. And I like seeing how the dynamic changes, how the All Blacks deal with that because they know what's coming
Yeah.
and how we change.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the last thing I'll say is I kind of see the box leaning into more like Tony ball and trying to sort of play that sort of ball in hand type of approach. And I think that it'll be crazy if they sort of pick this team and then they play a 40 kicks, lots of rolling balls type of game plan. So I kind of see it being like, okay, let's see now the best sort of suited players for it. How can they go? So that'll be interesting, obviously, with the conditions and everything as well. I think the big thing for the All Blacks on the other side is if the Boks do sort of go a bit more ball in hand and run through the phases, don't get sucked in. Just stick with your structures, stick in defense, try to make them play from 50, 60 meters out instead of playing in your 22 with your kicking game. And then just trust your set piece and the strike moves that you have. So it'll be interesting because obviously last week's game, I think this week will have less rain than it did in Auckland, but there still probably will be some rain around. So it'll be interesting to see if now, with the pressure kind of off, I guess, for both teams, because it isn't that Eden Park game, are they going to let loose and who does that benefit? It almost it's so weird now saying this, but like I think it almost benefits the Boks more. Like they seem to be the faster loose team, and the All Blacks seem to be the structured, play set piece, play for the corners team. So that's a bit confusing.
Yeah, it's a very good point, and I agree with you. It's we could do the little bit of hard ground, free flowing rugby.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So let's go to the second New Zealand versus South Africa game. So the Black Ferns are playing, so that's the Springbok Women at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon in the quarterfinal in Exeter and Sandy Park. I think the big news is, well, two things are obviously all the players that were arrested last week for the France game, they've all come back into the team. So the likes of Lebians van Rensburg, I know Cinderso Boy, they've all come back. And then the bigger news is the bench, which is a 7-1 bench that has been picked by the Springbok women. And we were saying before the podcast, the Springbok men in the World Cup, they went with 4 scrum halves and sometimes played 3 of them on the same team. South African women have literally no recognized scrum half or like primary scrum half in their whole 23.
Yeah, very interesting. Kind of just throws up a whole bunch of red flags, but then you got to go back and realize that the women's game, the positions, they operate in very different spaces. But it's really hard to look at a side and go, there isn't a backup 9, which is scary. I think we spoke about it, probably Mpupha. I'm guessing maybe Dolf might shift in there in an emergency. But yeah, very interesting. There's a hell of a lot to talk about. Like there's there's options everywhere. I we definitely look like we're gonna yeah, it looks balanced. It looks good. I just wanted us to sort out the way we manage Rus and how she operates, just not to get sucked in. So that's really going to rely a lot on our Lucy's and a lot of the forwards to go and clean, because I do think that the Black Ferns are going to set a couple of traps, like just put in a fake gap for Rus, and then she's going to go for it. So we need to make sure that we can clean out there. But then for me, the biggest thing is just managing Stacey Waaka at 13. She scares me because she's got a great, like, she loves to take opposition on the outside, and once she gets you on the outside, she forces someone to bite in and go and tackle her, and then overlap and points. But the South African women are looking good. Like, everyone in this side has performed in some way, shape, or form during this World Cup alone, let alone the build up to it. And we have players that if we all operate at 7.5, 7 out of 10, it'll be a competitive game for 60, 70 minutes. If we've got, out of those, everyone operating in 7 and a few 9s in key positions, then we are going to be in with a shout. And I think that's what's really exciting. We've got game breakers, we've got hard workers, and we've got players that can be really competitive against the best in the world. Just about being awake on defense and about just being super hungry and managing that space to not to make a mistake and concede 14 points in 10 minutes. Like, that's where things where we've noticed that things kind of wobble for us. But we've got the players that can score 14 points in 10 minutes, which is flippin' exciting.
Yeah. How would you go about trying to beat the Black Ferns?
So the Black Ferns are going to put us under pressure around the fringes. I think there could be a lot of those like sort of pick and go things. So if we don't get our defense sorted up and close those gaps, those pillars and those posts, if they break you through there, they're going to kill you. So we need to manage that. And by us doing that is we mustn't then take our eye off the outside backs. Because if we tie that up, if we get tired, they're going to run us off our feet, because when we get tired, we'll make a mistake, and that's where they're going to capitalize. So if we just 100% are tight in our setup and we don't like suck in too much, because if we suck in too much to stop the pick and go, they're just going to send it wide, and they've got the pace and the skills outside to score. So it's really about fitness, which I believe we've got. And it's really about making sure that we can slow the ball down enough to stop the Black Ferns from continuously making us turn and therefore getting sucked in and therefore creating gaps somewhere. So that's it for me. We've got the strike plays and the strike players. So I don't feel us scoring is a problem. I feel us being leaky on defense is the issue. So I'd really like us to just do the meat and potatoes, and then we can have dessert afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, look, number one, I think the Black Ferns had probably the most impressive performance of the World Cup so far against Ireland. I mean, the 40 is impressive, but the no, I think, is really scary. But I think you are right, Shaun. Like, with the scrum, with the likes of Hele and Wevu carrying the ball, with, Nadine Rus and those sort of players, we can get 14, we can maybe get 21. Like, we can sort of get 2 or 3 tries. And how do we then keep them to 3 or 4 tries and sort of keep it close, at least for the last 10 minutes? That's sort of the question. And yeah, I think you're right about sort of the defense, obviously, is almost like number one. And number 2 is just don't let the Black Ferns play with transition, because that's when they absolutely cut you up. Like, we saw some of the tries against Ireland. Like, if someone makes a break for the Black Ferns, it seems like 23 women are flooding through on the outside and inside and all waiting to, get the pass. They can all offload off the tackle. Like, Waaka becomes a problem there. Jorja Miller becomes a problem. Obviously, both their wings are ridiculous. So you want to hopefully stop those situations. And I'm a big fan of, two things that the women's box need to do. Like everything needs to be a forward battle. So when they have the ball, just also the pick up and goes and the runs from nine and just try to tire out their pack so that their pack can make mistakes, their pack isn't ready, maybe have the legs for the scrums. That's then their way of getting possession, getting territory is okay, win a scrum penalty, win a penalty maybe with like a collapsed wall or something like that. So I would sort of batter them with eight forwards plus our inside center usually pretty much operates as a forward and just sort of do the pick up and goes. And then hopefully suck them in, and then there's an opportunity out wide. We do have obviously great finishers in Malenga and Dolf. Actually, Dolf is playing fullback. Then the second thing, some ways on the wing. The second thing is we need to go deep into our bag of time wasting tricks. So a few untied shoelaces, a few contact lenses, a few injury breaks. Like, I think if you allow the Black Ferns to build momentum, it's over for you. Like, that's when they can sort of put up like a 70, 80 type of score line. But if it is stop start and it's quite frustrating and it's not quite sort of um, fluid for them, and the rucks are slow and it's set piece to set piece, and maybe we are, the team that's winning those set pieces, then there's a chance for us, and then this game becomes a bit more of an equal fight. So it's one of those games. I know the women's game has more ball and play time than the men, but it's one of those games where the ball and play should be like 30 minutes instead of like 40, 45 minutes, and just it being slow, when you kick the ball and kick the ball out, kick the ball into the stand, don't kick it out and you can do a quick line out. Like, I think if our defense is set, I think we have a decent chance of not conceding too many tries. But if it's on counterattack or on turnover, that's when it becomes a problem. So secure the ball. If we can sort of these are big numbers for the Black Ferns, but if we can sort of get to like 60% possession and like 60% territory and are able to sort of get as many scrums as possible, many set pieces as possible, there's a chance there. And then there's like the opportunities, like you said, for the strike plays, for the Swys sort of like cooking exhibitions, for Hele to pick up the ball from a scrum, like for Solonzi or whoever to have those opportunities. And then the nice thing, I guess, for the pack is they know, well, pretty much I think everyone except for Solonzi knows that they are going to all be replaced after 45 minutes. So empty the tank, the second team comes on, and then they can help to finish the game.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I really feel that if we can be in the game deep, we are in with a shot. I think we can get into their head a little bit. The Black Ferns were, I don't know, they in the top 3, top 4 favorites for the tournament. They didn't come in as flying as high as they did in the last tournament, even though England were favorites. So there's that. So
before the tournament, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really big. I want Libby to have the same game she had the other day. Like, we need that. And the other thing, and you've nailed it, we are going to be forward dominated. We need to calm down when we start our pick and drive sort of juggernaut going. It works really well, but we often get isolated. Like, so we're often just kind of standing there in the line waiting for the next person, and we get stuck. We kind of tie each other up. So we need to just have those pods, like you going, and then the next one will just fold in and then we go, because we make good meters. We make excellent meters, and we've got the backs to finish it off that. And it's about kind of just having those pods and don't get tied up amongst each other, clear out properly, and then also sending it to the backs when it's on, because we can do that. We've got the backs that are big enough, like Dolf fights outside her weight category all the time. Like, she does big time ruck clearing. So we've got Ngwevu there, we've got Mpupha. Like, we've got the operators to maintain and clear a ruck out wide if need be, if we want the forwards to come back and then we start reloading. So I just want a little bit of calmness in that. We will see it. I just want us to do it with a lot more accuracy.
Yeah. on the Black Ferns side, a few changes from their team from last week. So unfortunately, Sylvia Brandt is injured. I think she has concussion. So Teresa Setefano comes into inside center. She's also amazing. Amy du Plessis, she's also a great midfielder. She's on the bench. You have Maya Joseph starting. Puri Lane, it doesn't look like she's injured because she's not in the injury report. So I don't know if she's just been like taken out. But I mean, Joseph is a really nice, like, just keeps the game going type of nine from what I've seen. So they will, I think it clearly shows they're going to keep up that intensity. But I mean, there's danger players everywhere in this team. Like Jorja Ponsonby has a lot of experience. I think their locks, Rus and Bremer are really nice. Michele too, who's like, I think an unsung hero there. They lose forwards. Obviously, Georgia Miller is a superstar. And yeah, I think I'm happy it's important. Mpupha coming in at 13. I mean, she has obviously a lot of experience. She plays sevens. She's played for the 15s team for a long time. And I think she knows at least how good, or obviously, but like she knows what to expect from the Millers and the Waakas and the Woodman Wycliffe. So I don't mind her sort of helping with like those one-on-one tackles because it's not just Waaka that's going to be coming at 13. Probably Georgia Miller is also going to be featuring at 13 at times as well. And yeah, the backs obviously just all danger players. Like, you've got Demont there, you've got Portia Woodman Wycliffe, you've got Saracen McGee who's just scoring hat tricks at will. We've talked about the centers, you've got Renee Holmes at fullback as well. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously a very good team. And I think it just also emphasized, I mean, look, the Black Ferns probably, I think they thought it was a possibility, but they probably didn't know it was going to be 7-1. But I think they'll just continue with their own sort of game plan. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see like how much can, because we've seen even with like England and France outside of World Cups, they usually have success against the Black Ferns by sort of taking them up front. So I think that's what the Boks are leading into.
Absolutely. And we learned a lot from that French game. And you mentioned it, you're like, this is the French women are literally what we could be in 5 years' time. So
Yeah.
we probably want to be doing that and dominating up front. The best part about us being so forwards heavy is we really do have exciting backs. So you're not going to just flood everyone into that pick and go channel and take your eye off the backs because they don't have pace or they're not really up to the task. Like we've got the backs that can really do it. I'm glad you mentioned Mpupha at 13. I think Mpupha and Webb, those are two 13s for the game. I think they balance out everything and everywhere so well. They defend really well, and what I saw was some really good scrambling. So that's what you need is you need an eye for that scramble. Everyone's going to have to do just that little bit extra. Just put in that dive, run that little bit harder because if you can just grab them, we can get on top of it. We've got Rus she can be running around like a headless chicken, and she's got stealing options, she's got cover tackle options, and she's got line break options off transition. So it's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I think then those are the two main games. Very quickly, I mean, Australia's made quite a few changes in their team against Australia. Actually, both of them have made some changes. It seems like Australia's, I think after the win, they're like, okay, well, there's maybe a chance to rest some of the players that have been sort of going since the Lions tour. So Frost and Ikitau, I think, are the two main players that have, come out of the 23 just for at least a rest for this week. So Paisami Suali'i, which is, I think, going to be quite interesting. At lock, you have Williams and Hooper working together. And then on the bench, Lucas Loto comes back into the bench for Australia. If Argentina, they just, I think, rotating their loose forward. So now Matera takes his turn at the bench because it feels like between Gonzalez, Kremer, Oviedo, and Matera, it doesn't really matter who starts. They just go, okay, it's my turn now on the bench, and they sort of move around like that. And Rodrigo Isgro, I think, comes in at 14, and he's obviously he's really good. And Guido Petty comes into the starting team finally. Like, geez, I mean, he was probably the form player in Europe for a few months. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I I wonder how, I mean, this is now quite a few of like the big key Australian players now out of the team. Like, three of their best four players, and Ikitau, Skelton, and Wright aren't in the team. Like, it's probably maybe only McWright that's like still there as like a world-class option. So I wonder, yeah, like it's a big now, it's a big game for them to sort of back up again, like what they did. But yeah, I mean, I wonder how that's going to go. Obviously, Argentina's going to want to sort of finish up where they sort of left it, like at the end of the first half. So I think, again, this game is like a big sort of prove it game for both teams.
Yeah, I think Joe Smith is just super happy like that he's been forced into rotating. I wouldn't think that he's targeted the Rugby Championship as a space to go and win it this year. I think he's more about kind of working with the depth, working with options, and he's been forced into that for a number of reasons, where the players have gone back to France or he wants to rest up, etc., etc. So I think Joe Schmidt's super happy with the options that he's got. He's very likely going to target Eden Park as a game, and then obviously he is there, even though it's not really going to be part of the direct coaching setup, but the World Cup's always the focus. The big thing for me is whoever wins this game is in with a shot of winning the tournament. Like that's the thing that happens. Like it's same with what's happening with the All Blacks and the Springboks. Like if you win it, you got a chance. So Argentina know that if they win it, they're in with a chance. If Australia win it, they almost, I don't say they're guaranteed a chance to win the tournament, but they're
They're probably the
got,
favorites,
yeah, which is huge. So yeah, it's quite interesting. We as South Africans need Argentina to win desperately, and then hopefully that the Springboks go and do their thing afterwards. But the side still looks very nice. The
Yeah.
Wallabies look nicely balanced. You can really see threats across the park. It doesn't look like they're going to take a pasting. And same with Argentina. So you kind of then settle down to who's on it on the day. And I think we're all secretly hoping for another game that goes down to the wire, regardless of the result. We want to just have another cracking game, and because it'll be massive for the Wallabies. Like if they can just be competitive, if they lose, they would just want to be competitive. Obviously, they want to go and win, but
Yeah.
they're gonna like everyone's just gonna be like, well, hang on a second. Like the Wallabies have all of a sudden, just come back into the mix in 2025. So yeah, the Pumas are going to be hurting big time after last week.
Mm. So
And
close.
yeah, it's crazy. And I think they want to just go and prove that they've got the numbers and they've got the people to
Yeah.
do it. Um, but we've seen them be in that position and then just capitulate. So uh,
it's tough because both teams are known for sort of going up and down. But there's a very good chance, or there's at least a chance that we end this weekend with with all four teams at 10 points. So if Argentina and South Africa both get bonus points wins, no bonus points for New Zealand and Australia, and if pretty much both of them win by about 14 or so points, then points difference is more or less similar as well. So it really could be like a dead heat after 4 rounds with the 2 rounds to go. And yeah, like we said, that's and because both games are home and well, the South Africa game's a bit different because they play one in London, but technically home and away, then there is an opportunity there for pretty much all four teams to win the rugby championship. So yeah, it could be either New Zealand going out if they win and Argentina wins, or Australia going out if the opposite happens, or it could sort of all sort of come up together. So yeah, this is a real like this rugby championship could really become super exciting with 2 weeks to go.
sheesh, I know. Listen, that's again also what we want. We want everyone to be in with a shot with 2 weeks to go because the storylines around that are going to be absolutely wild, especially because of the game at Eden Park, and we're expected to beat Argentina twice, but one being at London, one obviously in Argentina is going to be a bit challenging. The Bledisloe Cup conversation, the resurgence of Wallaby rugby, the downfall of the All Black game. There's so much.
Yeah. I think the last thing just to quickly mention is probably the most important game this weekend in the men's games, actually Samoa versus USA, because as I understand it, winner there qualifies for the World Cup. So it's pretty much do or not die, but be seriously wounded into another playoff game essentially, because the loser then plays Chile like for a spot in the thing. So obviously, both of these teams expect to be in the World Cup. Samoa obviously is always in a World Cup. The USA really needs to start getting into World Cups if they want to host one in 2031. So this game that's happening at the end of the weekend for the Pacific Nations Championship, like it's a pretty big consequential game, and that's obviously after now Chile, I mean, well, Uruguay qualified and Canada qualified last weekend, and Tonga.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there were so many. I think there were three teams that qualified on your last team's results for the World Cup, and then I saw there was like one, or there's two remaining, I think. One which will be filled this weekend, and the next one will be filled after that, like ABF knockout game. You
Yeah.
know, this is your 14th last chance. So, like, if you don't make it, then you kind of deserve not to make it. You can't be like, oh, it was one bad ref decision. You know, we slipped. So, yeah, that's pretty big. It'll be quite huge. To be honest, both of these sides need to qualify now.
Mm.
Like both of these sides have the potential to not win the next game. You know, it might just be that like emotional letdown, and then you've got to get yourself up for one game where now they're kind of in the groove. So you want to tie it down this weekend.
Yeah. And I think also Chile is just a really dangerous side. So I don't think any team will see that as an easy game. So as I understand it, it's this game, and then the loser has the game against Chile, and then there's still a tournament after that. So
Ah,
at least it's not really do or die. So then that final tournament is, I think, the one with Namibia being the loser of that final against Zimbabwe,
yes.
Belgium, and then one Asian team I can't remember right
It's
now.
that's a four-way playoff, eh?
Yes.
Yes. So I thought that had been played. I thought somehow that was finished already, but I remember Namibia had another chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got like another two more chances, but you don't want to. The thing is that that tournament, if memory serves, that tournament was held pretty late before the 2023 World Cup.
Yeah.
Like it's almost the year of, isn't it?
I think they've moved it. I think next it's happening next year in this case. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so much can change.
I think what I've read is also it stops you from organizing like nice like warm-up games or whatever the case is. So you can't now organize for maybe like an All Blacks game in the US, especially for the US. Like this is probably they can qualify, then there's their chance to invite all the world to come to the US for a big cash grab game, and they also have an opportunity to play those teams. So as far as possible, they'd want to sort of sort this out so they don't have to worry about sort of the games coming up.
That's a great shot.
Mhm. And then I guess finally, Sean, is Curry Cup quarterfinals happening or semi-finals happening this weekend as well. So I mean, like I'm sure both of us, I don't think both of us have been really following it too much, but it's Lions versus Boland, the first semi-final in Ellis Park, and then the Griquas are hosting the Cheetahs. I see this game is under lights in Griquas. I was very surprised they have it still. I thought they just play under contract as a Saturday afternoon in that Kimberley sun in that yellow grass. So that'll be interesting. But
It's against the Cheetahs, so that whole the like what you gain by playing in Kimberley under the sun doesn't matter when you play against guys from Bloem, so they had to move it.
you know what? Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's a nice derby. Look, the Lions, I mean, this is kind of obviously like also kind of their warm up for the URC as well. But I mean, after last year, they really need to win this Currie Cup.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're up against Boland, who literally been beating everyone left, right, and center. So that's quite something. But yes, the Lions have to do it. They've got almost all their players available to them all the time. Yeah, same story, different season. Got to do it. Sorry, Ringo.
Yeah. Shame, I mean, bad week for Ringo, obviously, with the Ntlabakanye news as well. So, yeah, just really insane, actually.
So I've obviously been following that, and then the last I saw was yeah, it was doctors approved, blah blah blah. Now I've seen there's a second something that's come up,
Yeah.
which was like a self-incrimination, which I hate. Like I hate the way they put it, but like he basically
Self-reported.
declared, like, listen, this is also what I've been doing. But my understanding again, both of them were from doctors.
Yeah, it's a mess. Look, I mean, it, I mean, yeah, I think my litmus test for things when I'm like, okay, this rugby thing is maybe too stupid, is I try to explain it to my wife. And if she's like, this doesn't pass the smell test, then it's like, okay. So she's like, okay, but like, why isn't there like, surely like before you go and take something, there should be like a doctor, either in Saru or the Lions, that is like, yeah, this is fine, this is not fine. As I understand the statement, it's not like Mpupha went to just any old GP. It seems like it's someone that is verified and should know what's going on. And it
And
seems,
another sports doctor. I heard there were two
yeah.
doctors that
So it seems like they just both made really big oversights. And
it's literally your job.
yeah, that's bad. And I mean, yeah, it also seems like he's obviously been trying to take like stuff to help with like losing weight and everything. So obviously that's also kind of not a it kind of compounds like obviously for the on the box side, if that's been something that they've been like, hey, if you want to play for the box, you need to lose 20 kilograms. Like I assume the next step is okay, here's a sports doctor, here's the medical doctor, here's how you can do this. So I'm not sure now how it goes from that to you're taking a banned substance. And so obviously the worst case scenario is a 4-year ban, which is horrible. Yeah, I think because of the self-reporting, all that sort of stuff, he can maybe get away with like maybe a year, maybe even a 6-month ban, like best case scenario. But like it's very difficult now from sort of where he is to get that under 2 years. I think 2 years probably the sort of the middle point, I think, of that. But it's really unfortunate, obviously, just for him personally. He's been playing really well. I think even the ironic thing with the weight loss thing, sorry, Sean, I'm jumping in between a few things. The ironic thing with the weight loss thing is that his numbers as a tight head prop are always near the top in terms of involvement. It's not like he's big and he does nothing else. Like he obviously makes a lot of carries. He is top for like making big dominant tackles. He gets into racks. He steals in a few racks as well. So yeah, it's I wasn't like it's also been a bit unnecessary. Like it's not like he needed to lose all of that weight. Like sure, it obviously would help for him in the international game, especially, but it's not like he was not like it wasn't like being an impediment for him playing really well as well, which is quite sad. But yeah, like something isn't right. Like within I don't want to sort of blame because we also don't really know the full story, but between the Lions, SA Rugby, the doctors, something isn't right. Because obviously, Kabakanye, you know, sports sports players aren't expected to know each and everything that is in their supplements or in the things that they take. So they are relying on people to be like, yeah, this is fine, this is not fine. So something has failed in that process.
Yeah, like if everything is as what is reported, then yes. Like, so I know he went to a regular doctor and then he went to an endocrinologist who was helping him. That's the weight and that's the hormone side of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's beyond me that again, if everything's as it's being reported, it's beyond me that he has gone to two doctors that are literally aware of the sporting environment,
Yeah.
that he's a player and have done their job to give him stuff that is manageable, that he can still play professional sport, then there some heads are going to roll big time,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's shit. And I don't know how old he is, but I know that yeah, 4 years, I suppose 4 years he can still come back and give it a good go. But I mean, this is massive. Like this is massive in terms of health, mental health. We've seen it in the past, how this affects players financially, their well-being, and all that as well. It's crap. So
Yeah.
hopefully it can get sorted quickly, and it
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah. Let's
You
hope
know,
so.
yeah.
Sean, yeah, I know you don't like predictions. So I'm not going to make you make predictions. Like we all know we are wanting 2 South African wins. Yeah, let me ask you this. Which from the men's and the women's side is the player you think will impress you the most?
I'm gonna go with Damien Willemse.
Okay.
I I've missed him. I want him to. we all know what he's done and what he's capable of. He's got a completely different role that he's playing now that we mentioned about his seniority and coming back from injury. So he's my one. The other one is Dolf.
Mm.
I love watching her play. She has so quickly become one of my favorite players. She's the glue guy in the team. She's been the one constant. She kicks well. I love the way she runs. Like when she runs into contact for someone that is often smaller than everyone else, she really powers through. I'm a massive fan, so it's got to be her.
Yeah, I love that. I think I'll go Solonzi. I think she's been almost underrated because obviously Hele has been a ridiculous carrier,
Yes.
but like she's
They operate
really
so well together.
yes, and I think the loose trio just really fills the gaps for each other. If one's carrying, one's rucking, like one's helping with the tackling, one's helping with the stealing. Maybe Hele's that's not really a strength, so they're really good defensively. So I think she could really have a good game and a really impressive game. And obviously, this is also an opportunity for these women to hopefully get good contracts for like some of these pro sides as well. So that's also sort of a mini goal. But I think she can really put in a good performance. And then on the men's side, yeah, I mean, look, Jasper Visa, you kind of owe us. So it will be a good time for you to sort of show like the number eight.
Yeah,
Please don't hit
that's
that anyone.
no, he must go. He must not change his game.
But
His
don't
game
hit that
is
anyone. Do
no, but
everything else, just no hit
yeah,
bites. That's all I'm asking.
yeah. Listen, that's not how he plays. I'll never forget that. Like he just sat there and he just did the little head push, but he had a little bit of a run up. Like it was just a bad moment. That's not him. Like honestly, for a guy that is that big, like he just does is talking about steamrolling people. So it's weird. It's a nothing, and he served his ban. Let's move on. Just
Yeah.
don't get another, please.
Please. Okay, I think then that's everything. Lots of rugby to look forward to. There is World Cup quarterfinals that will be throughout Saturday and Sunday. There's the Rugby Championship on Saturday morning. The Australia game starts at 6 a.m. That is to cooks, that is to everyone. Please don't wake up too late for that. There's top 14, there's Premiership Rugby Cup, there's Super Rugby Australia, there's all sorts of rugby too. Oh, there's Currie Cup semi-finals too. So yeah, please follow us on our social media channels. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as well on Spotify and on YouTube as well. Yeah, we will definitely come back early next week to run through everything and yeah, hopefully talking about two Springbok wins. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.